Hi, everyone. Mary Esther Miranda Gilbert here, back again with more tidbits, more information on how to master your health and to know how to research and get the right answers that you're looking for. People are learning more and more about how to manage their nutritional health, and I'm here to kind of fill in the gaps and to clear up any misunderstandings or confusion that's out there on the internet. So today I'm going to be answering actually a question that I received a couple of days ago on just specific ingredients in supplements like citric acid, chromium picolinate, where these nutrients are sourced and whether the synthetic versions or the food-derived, whole food-derived natural versions are better or not. And if you've been following me, or if you know me, a lot of people have known me for many decades, and because I've been in this industry for over 45 years, analyzing ingredients and all that kind of thing. But if you don't know much about me, then please visit my website, holisticchoices.com, and look at the About page, because that'll tell you my credentials and how long I've been researching and producing nutritional healing protocols for clients, and writing books on botanical, the scientific data on the healing and health benefits of many, many botanicals that are here on this earth that are so beneficial for our health. So that aside, not going to take up too much of your time just explaining who I am, but please visit my website. You'll like it there. There's a lot to look at. But anyhow, yeah, today I'm going to be covering like vitamins, vitamin C, specifically today, and the minerals chromium picolinate and calcium and zinc, and also the natural preservative citric acid. So people are always worried about citric acid. Some people say that they're allergic to citric acid, and it depends on so many factors. I'm going to try to clear a lot of that up for you today. All right, so I'm going to do some screen sharing here, and we can get started. So I'll just, I prepared a little document just to go by to try to keep me on track, because, when you've been doing this for so long, like I have, then when I try to teach something, there's all these different, offshoots of information that I'd like to go off on these tangents and talk about. But I want to stick to the subject matter that I announced for the video. So anyway, here is the document that I prepared so that we can stay on track. Now there's going to be it's going to be a little bit technical, but I'll try to clarify everything as we go. And I can't possibly do it justice. I never can. To do so would be an entire course, which I will be doing as soon as I launch my True Health Mastery Institute, which is I'm in the process of creating a couple of courses to start out with. But more on that information at my holisticchoices.com website under the True Health Mastery membership page. That'll explain a little bit more about that if you're interested. And if you want to be on the mailing list so that you can be notified when the Institute is up and running, then there's a lot of perks there listed on that page that describes the membership subscribership that I'm offering soon. Okay, so as far as this goes, I'm going to be going into the differences between how the body utilizes and processes whole food derived vitamins versus the laboratory derived synthetic versions. Then I'm going to go into the differences in how the body utilizes minerals. And in this, like I said, in this report, I'll be covering a little bit about chromium picolinate, calcium, and zinc. And then also whether it's preferable, or how the body utilizes it so much better in whole food sources versus non-plant derived sources. So in minerals, the supplement industry is getting a lot better about producing more absorbable minerals in their nutritional supplement formulas. And I've been following this industry for 45 years, so I've seen how it has progressed. But there's still a lot missing, in these supplements as far as their utilizability. So as far as the types of supplements that are out there, I'll be showing you which supplements are the least absorbable and which ones are the most absorbable as far as minerals go. But today we're just going to use the chromium picolinate and the calcium and the zinc as examples, just so that you know what is to be found in the supplements out there and what to look for. Okay, and also I will be going over citric acid. This is based on a couple of questions that I received from a couple of people who represent a company whose products are exceptional. And I have been their consultant for some time now, as far as teaching them about the nutritional physiology and how nutrients are utilized in the body. Okay, so citric acid is very important. It's a common question anyway, so I'm going to be answering that. And as you can see here on the document, there are different references and links that go to these peer-reviewed studies. So peer-reviewed studies are the most credible form of obtaining scientific data on anything you want to know. And in my case, you know, as a nutritional physiologist, that's where I go to. I don't discount by any means the indigenous people's knowledge that has been documented, you know, carefully documented, and the causes and effects have been observed for many, many centuries, sometimes a couple of thousand years or more. Some of these countries have their own forms of natural medicines, so they've been very intelligently, you know, preserving that knowledge and adding to it throughout the ages, including up till now. So I don't discount that either. Also, when someone decides to try a supplement with certain ingredients in them, in it, then if the science, the peer-reviewed science, thousands of studies have been you know, put together into one report from a panel of very highly qualified experts to report the most credible studies that have been done on a particular subject. Okay, so I've been researching individual ingredients, I've been researching individual botanicals and combinations of botanicals for many, many years now. So I can tell you that the peer-reviewed studies are quite credible. You know, if you want to really find out and you want to try something out, look at the scientific data, look at the peer-reviewed studies. If it's not a peer-reviewed study, that just means that it's one study, you know, and you can't always go by one study. You have to have an accumulation of scientific results in order to come to any conclusion that you should try something, you know, or that you should justify putting something in your body. Okay, so when those two things, the scientific research and the indigenous documented information, the healers of the world, when you put those two things together and you get results, then you have something that is quite reliable, and it's amazing how that works. The human body never ceases to amaze me when I show someone the scientific research and include the history of how these materials have been used, the botanicals, namely, have been used over time. When you put those two things together, there's a lot of confidence there. So people who sell supplements, and if they focus on those two things, the history and also the peer-reviewed studies, then they can feel very, very confident as far as recommending something to someone. Now, as far as individual nutrients or any kind of nutrient factor, that has been shown that it does not work as well as if it's in a holistic, synergistic, whole food form. And not only do combinations of nutrients work so much more efficiently in order to complete a task in the body, which is multiple trillions of tasks that our cells and our body systems have to undergo in order to keep us alive and thrive and to prevent disease or recover from illness or injury, you know, that kind of thing. The body always requires a full range of nutrients. So like I said, I'm just going to touch on a couple of nutrients based on the questions that I was asked recently, but it also gives a good overview of all the other nutrients, the essential nutrients known to science that that also, you know, just match what I'll be talking about today. All right, and then I'll be showing you, introducing to you my books that I've written for you, for the public, to master your health and not be a victim of misinformation or disinformation or confusing information that's out there. People, I produce videos on how to determine whether some information is credible or non-credible. So if you haven't seen my YouTube channel, other than right now, please do like and share and subscribe, and that way you'll be notified of other videos coming in. So you'll see an array of all the videos that I've produced so far, and so many more to come, especially if you join my True Health Mastery Institute and become a member, and you'll have insider information very, very often. You'll become your own nutritional health expert. So yeah, a lot of exciting things ahead for everyone. Okay, so I'm going to just dig right in. All right, let's start with the vitamin C. Okay, so people always ask, is ascorbic acid any better than a whole food source of vitamin C? And I've come to the conclusion after a lot of research that no, it is not. Now, a food technician or a chemist will tell you, oh, molecularly, it's the same. Okay, schematically, when you look at the little sticks and the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, laid out on a flat plane, it looks like the same molecule, but they're leaving out the holographic nature of whole foods and the light energy frequencies that help a living system vibrate at certain frequencies to keep it going and keep it alive, and to have that light energy that our cells are looking for and require to maintain themselves too. So it's multidimensional. So when you have a supplement, if it's not a whole food supplement, if it's not organic ingredients, then there's a lot missing there. If you have a lot of vitamins that are partitioned off from a whole food called synthetic, or if it's laboratory, concocted, then it's not going to have the same effect in the body. So it's looking into the biophysics of your nutritional physiology. That's the most important thing to consider. So if you don't have time to eat a perfect diet, 50 to 75% raw fruits, organic vegetables, and leafy greens and herbs and fruits and berries and whole grains, in addition to high quality proteins and whole food carbohydrates, and the right types of healing fats, then you would probably want to find yourself a great nutritional supplement. On my website, there is such a thing. So you can go there and look at the ingredients and compare those ingredients of all the supplements that I advocate with others on the market if you have the time. If not, just know that I've done the research. Every time I have come across in the last 45 years, a supplement that I think would be better than the one I've been advocating before, then I switch. I'm loyal to a point to companies that are producing high quality supplements, but the only supplement that I've ever seen that has living light energy frequencies going are the APL Go drops. Okay, so you can also go to my website and look at that page too, holisticchoices.com/APL. There are a myriad number of videos that will educate you on that particular product. I maintain my position as a consultant for companies, and I don't necessarily engage in the sales. I've tried the products and I know what they do. I know what they do scientifically, and I understand the science, especially if there's a scientific technology in the development and production of these supplements. So, you have to look at all these angles if you truly want to master your health and ensure that you're not going to succumb to and be a victim of the disease process or the medical industrial complex that is only interested in making a profit and not necessarily in helping you get well or maintain optimal health vibrancy your whole entire life. All right, so enough of that tangent. This is going to take long enough as it is, and I hope you stay with me. If you don't have time to watch the whole video, just make sure that here on YouTube, it will, let you come back to it and to the place where you left off. So that's what's great about YouTube. It's also on Rumble. All my videos get transferred to Rumble, and I will be, when I open my institute, I will be posting most of my videos on Rumble because that is a free speech platform. So a lot of information that I can't say here, because everything involves politics, okay? And everything involves a lot of corporations that are interested in profits over the good of humanity. Okay, I have to be careful what I say on YouTube. So yeah, there's a lot there to be considered. So there will be a lot more truths, and you'll be a lot more educated when I'm more free to talk about certain aspects of what it takes to manage your health. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just briefly read this little blurb that I put in here. Ascorbic acid is a laboratory-made type of vitamin C, and while the vitamin C complex that occurs in whole plant foods contain the organic form of ascorbic acid, plants also contain other important complexes that help utilize that vitamin C in the plant and to maintain the integrity of the vascular system, like the blood vessels, the cell structures. Vitamin C is extremely important for maintaining those structures in the body. So, and that's also true for the structures and cell structures of plants. So we are very, very compatible with plants. And in other videos, I've explained, at the cell level, how almost alike we are with plant cells. Our cells are very, very similar to plant cells. So our metabolisms are, and the fluids and nutrients that plants take up are very, very compatible with our bodies. So anyhow, here's the scientific reference, and let's just go ahead and go on this link here, so I can show you what I discovered. Again, I only look at peer-reviewed studies, and the way you can tell if it doesn't say somewhere up here, then you can tell right away from the notations throughout the body of the document. So here's a group of scientists here that the review panel considered a credible source, and then we've got other groups of scientists that was also included in this very reliable compilation of studies. So you can go all the way through. There are many. It goes very far. There's many references, and they're always listed at the very end. So anyhow, I just wanted to show you that this L-ascorbic acid, it's a multifunctional molecule supporting plant growth and development. So the L-ascorbic acid is the natural vitamin C that's present in plants. And the only way plants can make vitamins is through the sun and the gases in the atmosphere. All that comes together in order for a plant to be able to form vitamin C. Our bodies cannot manufacture vitamins. So and that's why they're called essential. They are essential for our health, but we cannot manufacture them. But we get them from our foods, okay? And so vitamin C is a very, very sensitive nutrient. It will be diminished, very quickly if it's exposed to sunlight, or if it's, let's say the plant is already harvested, the plant is holding a high amount of vitamin C, depending on the soil, how rich the soil was. So all these factors in the soil and the sun and, all these different things come together to create the biochemistry for a plant to create vitamins. Okay, so, but we cannot do that. We cannot do that at all. So ascorbic acid functions as a major redox buffer and a cofactor for enzymes. So it's a coenzyme, and it's involved in regulating photosynthesis, like I just said, from the sun. Hormone biosynthesis, the plants can generate hormone-like substances that our bodies recognize immediately and utilize, and to generate our own hormones. There's a few changes that our DNA knows how to direct these biochemicals in order to create the molecules of the 10,000 hormones that our bodies need to regulate, and all these processes. Okay, so and generating other antioxidants. The body does generate its own antioxidants, meaning it'll destroy anything that does not belong in the body, anything that's toxic, anything that's synthetic, anything that's not of self. So, but also we need them from the plants. It really helps our immune systems quite a bit when we take in the plant kingdom that all contain various kinds of antioxidants. So ascorbic acid regulates all this, like cell division and growth, and it's involved in signal transduction. So it aids the nervous system in creating all these signaling pathways in the nervous system. So, this, it does a lot. Okay, vitamin C is extremely essential for so many of our biological processes, including improving how the immune system works. All right, and one of the many nutrients that the immune system requires in order to do its job to keep you out of danger, to keep your health from being overcome or overrun from microorganisms or toxins in the environment, or to be able to neutralize synthetics. So being exposed to a lot of synthetic chemicals, even if it's just through the skin, then it requires this vitamin and many other nutrient factors working together to maintain that homeostasis or biochemical balance and cleanliness in the system. Okay, so anyhow, I included these links in there so that you can just peruse this article. You can read the individual, the individual studies, but you'll get a much better idea of the combination of all and the summarization of all of the different studies that have been done on vitamin C. Okay, so these peer-reviewed studies always have the abstract or introduction. This one has both, and it'll just give you a simple rendition, a layperson's rendition of what the science has discovered as to what this vitamin does. And it'll get into some of the biochemistry as well, like the anti-scorbutic factor, and then this really long, molecule that chemists totally understand. It's been a long time since I've studied chemistry, but you can recognize things the more you expose yourself to these things. So then they talk about how it's used and that kind of thing. All right, so biosynthesis of L-ascorbic acid in plants. They go over how plants utilize this. Once you understand how plants utilize this nutrient, then you understand how compatible it is with our own cells and how our cells also utilize them in the very same manner. Okay, and if you like the schematic diagrams of all these different molecular pathways, then this will be fun for you to learn all these terms. But my point is to just get an overview of the kind of nutrients that are in whole foods. And for some reason, they are examining the tobacco species. Who eats that besides chewing on it and spitting it out? That's disgusting. But anyway, then you've got all these other types of sources like the kiwi fruit, strawberries, I don't know. This is very, very varied. I haven't seen any sense out of this chart yet. I haven't looked at it very well, but it'll tell you. When you look at table 1, you can go up here and see what they're talking about here. So anyway, that's off point. I've got to stay focused on what I wanted to talk about as far as how vitamin C works in the body. And then as far as supplements go, we'll be going over that too in a moment. This is just telling you how it's transported, in the body, inside the cell, and how it works. And then how it's transported throughout the body, So yeah, it gets pretty technical, but I like to have people kind of peruse the body of it because sometimes it does get pretty technical. But at the end of this very, very look at all these. We're up to 112 scientific research studies that were examined to put this document together. And they only utilize the panel of experts, the peer review panel, only utilizes the most credible studies. They toss out more than they keep as far as, adhering to the rigid standards of the scientific community throughout the world. And this is a standard that's used throughout the world. I've looked at studies that are of so many different, in so many different countries and so many different universities where a lot of this research is being conducted. All right. And you can go on. Ascorbic acid regulates the cell cycle. A cell cycle means when a cell is born, how it produces energy, how it replicates itself, how it maintains the genetic code in the DNA, all these different cell functions. And then eventually the cell ages, and then it becomes more, it becomes aged. And so the immune system recognizes it and gets rid of it, as long as it keeps replicating itself. And the mother cell has duplicated itself many times over. So, when something gets old and it's spent its time, then it's time for its to be disassembled, and its structure or nutrient, the elemental, factors like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen are utilized in other ways. All right, so All right, so they're going to talk about, more uses that ascorbic acid does, and this is from a whole food complex, not from the synthetic partitioned version, laboratory-made version of ascorbic acid. It can't possibly interact with the complexities of how the human body works if it's only a partial molecule or generated from something other than whole foods. Okay. All right. So this is indeed a very, very long article, but it's well, segmented so that you can jump from section to section to see what interests you. To me, it's just good reading, and if you can master the terminology, you can always look up the terminology. It'll take a long time at first, but if you really want to master the terminology in your own nutritional physiology, then these articles are excellent for that. If not, just get the gist of it, and look at the abstract, the introduction, and then, my goodness, this is a truly long supplement. Okay, so I'm trying to find the conclusions. Here we are. So you can jump to the conclusions at the end of the articles, and you'll see how it summarizes nicely what all of these different studies have found and agreed on. Once the study is replicated or different aspects of, say, vitamin C has been studied, then you put together a very high understanding of what this nutrient does. And this is true for every single nutrient. But nutrients don't act on their own. They act in synergy with other nutrients. Vitamin C acts in synergy with other vitamins, complexes, and minerals that are present in whole foods. All right, so I wanted to show you the long list of the references, all those little numbers you saw in the, when I clicked on it, and you saw the group of scientists that did one particular study. They're all listed on the reference section in the back here. So it'll go all the way to 200 and what? It was ridiculous, 205. All right, so I have even more scientific references in the book that I produced. It's just I'll show you more about the books that I've written in the end of this document that I'm going off of for us today. All right, so there's that one link. I'll try to not prolong this too much, but it's so important. Okay, it's extremely important. All right, so back again to now this other section. Okay, this is a quote from this reference source. Natural supplements usually list food sources or are labeled as 100% plant or animal-based. Okay, supplements that list nutrients individually, such as vitamin C, or use chemical names like ascorbic acid, are almost certainly synthetic. Synthetic and food-derived vitamin C is chemically identical, or so they claim. However, fruit and vegetables are rich in numerous micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals, dietary fiber, and phytochemicals like bioflavonoids that maintain cell structures and keep you from bruising or keeping your blood vessels and cells from, being easily prone to rupturing or damage. And the presence of some of these may affect the bioavailability of vitamin C. So again, there's that synergistic factor. Vitamin C doesn't work by itself. It is always formed as a complex in a plant, along with other augmenting vitamins and minerals. So I'm going to jump to this study right here. Okay, so let's jump to the beginning here. So in this peer-reviewed study, it's titled Synthetic or Food-Derived Vitamin C, Are They Equally Bioavailable? And in this study, it will explain that no, the food-derived vitamin C is much more bioavailable, okay? And, here's the abstract, here's the introduction, here are all the different studies that were examined and included in this peer-reviewed report, all of these here. Yeah, so let me see if I can find the section where it actually says specifically, that that the bioavailability from plants that contain high amounts of vitamin C are much more complex, but yet more absorbable and utilizable and recognizable by our highly intelligent genetic code in the DNA. So everything that we do, everything the body does is directed by the genetic code in the DNA. So all the instructions that your body does are in every single cell, in every single system in the body. So if one part of the body is malfunctioning and a good number of those cells are being damaged and the DNA is being damaged, then with the proper nutrients, then the rest of the body that contains that same information, other areas in other cells in our body, those DNAs, or that DNA, it's all the same, it's all holographic throughout the whole system, then that DNA in other areas of the body can direct the recovery and regeneration and repair, and therefore the healing of the other body system that was damaged. Okay, so that's what's so great about the human body. It's truly amazing. So I think I already read this because that was, synthetic vitamin C is chemically identical. However, yeah, I read that. So fruits and vegetables are rich in different micronutrients, and the fiber and the phytonutrient compounds called phytochemicals or phytonutrients. Those are the chemicals that are in plants there are literally thousands of those, and they are found throughout nature in various different types of botanicals, different plants. And so those have been studied extensively. In my book, I have a whole database on all the different phytochemical compounds that are found in plants. So that's only one section of that book. Those of you who have gotten that book, everyone tells me they truly love it. It's got 5-star reviews on Amazon, and I've spent months researching and compiling, the health benefits of various botanicals in that book. All right, so it talks about how it interacts with other nutrients. In this case, they studied how it interacts with vitamin E and how it serves together they serve as a great antioxidant in the body. And the plant-derived flavonoids that are converted to bioflavonoids, they are also called vitamin P. They have their effect on the vascular permeability, flexibility, so that blood vessels don't get damaged. At the time, let's see. Okay, so animal models. It's good to look at animal models, but I mostly like to find peer-reviewed studies on human studies, But vitamin C research is very old. It's been around for a very long time, and it continues to produce more and more new research on just how vitamin C and other vitamins and other nutrients in the body work. Okay, so this one goes over the animal studies. All right, studied bioavailability studies in humans, and here's a study that's studied extensively, including, everyone knows that vitamin C prevents scurvy. That's old information, right? But since then, see, now this is in the form of lemon juice, not the synthetic vitamin C. All right, so then let's see. So they're talking about the bioavailability of vitamin C from raw broccoli compared with cooked broccoli. And human studies have shown little difference in plasma and or urine bioavailability between synthetic vitamin C and that from different fruits, fruit juices, and vegetables. So that's a direct contradiction of other studies. But in science, there's no one permanent right answer. So this obviously demonstrates how many studies performed in different ways have come to different conclusions. So of course, a very objective report like this is going to show you all sides of what was found. But when you look at the history of what vitamin C has done for people's health, especially in the form of whole foods versus supplements, synthetic versions of supplements, then definitely there is a difference. Some people have stomach aches. Some people don't react very well with plain ascorbic acid supplements. And it depends on your state of toxicity too. If you're highly toxic, then you're going to react with certain fruits that contain high amounts of not just vitamin C, but other types of organic acids that act very, very quickly to cleanse and detoxify and even reduce inflammation. But sometimes the body, the immune system is confused, and that's from chronic nutrient deficiencies over time and other factors like not enough sunlight, not enough sleep, not being hydrated properly, sedentary lifestyle, all these different factors, and toxicity, being exposed to toxic chemicals, not paying attention to what you put on your body and the kind of chemicals you use in your home. All these factors come together. So there's going to be different effects. It's very, very complicated. Science tries its best over a long time to put together credible information for us. And it still is the least non-credible source. If you were to just do a regular search on the internet and typed in, what vitamin C does for the body, without indicating that you're looking for a scientific report or scientific journal that reports these studies, then it's going to be very contradicting and very confusing as well. So, this is another just peer-reviewed study that picked up on, these studies that claim that the different fruits and vegetables, and they're talking about bioavailability, and so again, it depends on what the body can absorb. There's no one way to simplify any of this, right? But and of course, the raw broccoli has that light energy frequency going on for it that assists in the absorbability and utilization of the nutrients in the raw broccoli. Some people can't handle that heavy fiber. So you have to introduce fiber into the diet very gradually. So again, it depends on the person, their state of health. That's why when I have done over the many decades, all of these different consultations with clients, I have to analyze every single thing that they do. So the questionnaire that they have filled out is quite comprehensive. I have to know these things in order to help them to kind of pinpoint where the fundamental problem started or continues and is going on. All right, so I'm trying really hard not to get off subject here, but my goodness, it's the human body we're talking about. It's very, 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 very complex. Okay, so then, this particular study looked at other things like non-smoking men. You can pick out what you need from these different studies, but pharmacokinetic bioavailability studies in humans. So these studies showed transient changes in plasma vitamin C levels and urinary excretion over the hours following digestion of the vitamin C containing test substance. So don't know without further reading if it was the vitamin C tablet. It doesn't say if it's ascorbic acid, but I would think that okay, yeah, here it is. An early animal study found that vitamin C provided in citrus fruit media took longer to reach peak plasma concentrations compared with a synthetic vitamin C solution, and also provided a larger area under the plasma vitamin C concentration time curve. The reason it takes longer for a food-derived vitamin C to be utilized and absorbed is because of the many, many nutritional factors that are in a whole food and how the body has to determine where these nutrients have to go. And it also has to go through the digestive system. The digestive process is slow and sluggish, and some nutrients are very easily absorbed. It has to get to the small intestine where most nutrients are absorbed, where they go through the cell membranes, enter the world of the cell, enter the circulatory system, and are circulated. And the immune system, the hormonal system, all these regulating systems have to determine where these nutrients go. So that's another reason why it takes longer. But if you take a highly concentrated form of ascorbic acid, if your body can handle it, then your body will find a way to use it. But it has to complete the holistic factor, okay? In a whole food vitamin C, you've got all of the holistic factors in place, including the light energy frequencies, the enzyme actions. The spark of all biochemical reactions are enzymes. Okay, so when you have that missing in an ascorbic acid supplement, your body has to compensate and find a way to utilize that, okay? And it's water soluble, it gets distributed in the body, but is it as effective? You need smaller amounts in whole foods than you do in a synthetic vitamin C solution. So I know that in my studies, in my research, that an excess amount of synthetic vitamin C, ascorbic acid, is going to loosen the bowels. If you take too much, it can totally cause a problem, have you running to the bathroom kind of thing. But again, it depends on the person, depends on how badly they need this particular molecule and how readily the body is able to utilize it. Okay, put it all together for utilization. Anyway, I just wanted to, and here's the conclusion, and here they talk about the vitamin C bioavailability from different tablet formulations. So, 2,000 milligrams a day are considered safe for general consumption, but these pharmacokinetic studies indicate that ingestion of single doses of vitamin C greater than 200 milligrams have lower relative bioavailability, indicating that ingestion of several smaller doses each day is preferable to a large single dose. So in other words, you might as well take in a holistic, synergistic whole food that contains a high amount of vitamin C so that your body can better utilize it, better bioavailability, less digestive upsets, that kind of thing. That fiber that is in those whole foods is extremely important also. So you want to maintain your cell structures, therefore your structures of your intestines and your blood vessels and your just all these different structures in the body, even your connective tissues, collagen, and all that. So vitamin C is utilized in so many different areas of the body and to form those structures. All right, so here is the conclusion. It's quite a conclusion, I know. But yeah. So vitamin C is known to enhance the bioavailability of other nutrients like vitamin E and non-heme iron, heme meaning blood-derived type of iron, like from animal food sources. So it enhances the absorbability. Also, I know that it enhances the absorbability of the different minerals, particularly how it interacts with calcium. And again, a food source of calcium, especially in the plant kingdom, is much more utilizable than a cooked source of calcium, or different types of calciums. And there's in this document that we're following through that I created, it also lists the different types of calcium. And so you'll see in a moment how calcium is utilized. All right, so I just wanted to show you yet another way to try to get to the bottom of the types of supplements you want to put in your body. So all in all, over time, I've discovered that the whole food sources are much more absorbable, much more utilizable, much more balanced nutritionally. The body is able to benefit not just from the particular individual vitamins or minerals that are in the food, but into the whole array of all these different other important nutrients that the body can utilize very quickly. All right, so that's vitamin C, vitamins in general. That is true for the B complex and the vitamin D complex. So that's the subject matter for another day because vitamin D is a little bit different than the other vitamins. All right, so let's go into chromium picolinate. So the differences in how the body utilizes minerals, especially in this report, chromium picolinate, calcium, and zinc are what we're going to be covering here. And they're derived from whole food sources. Is that a good source, or is it non-plant derived versions of these minerals? Especially the calcium and the magnesium, all these different major minerals that are found in the earth. A lot of times, supplement companies, especially in the past, used to just grind them up and put them in, a tablet, and they would go right through the body, inside and all the way out, without being broken down, without being utilized. So that's why another reason. That's another reason why I like whole food sources of foods rich in minerals. All right, chromium picolinate. Let's go to that link right here. All right, so what is chromium picolinate? It's an organic compound of what's called trivalent chromium and picolinic acid, a naturally occurring derivative of tryptophan. So the picolinic form increases chromium absorption from the gastrointestinal tract, although this remains quite low, around 3%, which is fine. We're used to seeing high amounts of dosages in supplements. The general idea was the more you have of something, the more likely it will be absorbed. That's not always true. All right. So chromium picolinate is a popular dietary supplement. Is claimed to reduce the desire for sweets and sugar and thus helping to lose weight. So the trivalent chromium is reported to enhance insulin action. The exact molecular mechanism of chromium action on insulin is not clear. That just means that it requires more research studies, right? More studies on this particular mineral. For several years, it was supposed that chromium acts as part of the glucose tolerance factor, or GTF. More recently, other mechanisms, such as functioning via the low molecular weight chromium binding substance, have been proposed. So we're getting into the chemistry here. But chromium deficiency so far has been diagnosed only in persons receiving total parenteral nutrition. So, these studies can go off on all these different tangents, and they can go off the subject that we want to find in the answers that we're looking for in, the different views on how these nutrients work. So this was taken from a book, and it just gives you an excerpt of the different types of chromium. So on the periodic table of the elements, chromosome has different isotopes. It has different configurations at the atomic level. So one electron, difference can alter the absorbability or determine whether a mineral form is toxic or not. So plants take in the full array of the essential nutrients it needs for its own development, and it passes on those life-giving, health benefits to our cells that our cells recognize, and our DNA understands what to do with that, right, kind of thing. All right, so, chromium is used, it's been studied extensively too. So here it describes it as an essential trace mineral that enhances the action of insulin. Although supplementing with chromium has been shown in studies to improve the blood glucose control in type 2 diabetes mellitus, little research has focused specifically on the PCOS population. A pilot study of 6 women with PCOS concluded that 1,000 micrograms per day of chromium for as little as 2 months improved insulin sensitivity by an average of 38% and decreased baseline insulin by 22%, which is not very significant statistically. Okay, but the dosage given was 600 to 1,000 micrograms, divided doses throughout the day. Picolinate, they say, is a byproduct of the amino acid tryptophan, is combined to support absorption of chromium. So dietary sources include brewer's yeast, liver, mushrooms, wheat germ, oysters, and some fresh fruits. So we do find this particular version of this particular mineral in whole foods, okay? To me, that is the safest way to take any kind of mineral or any kind of vitamin or any kind of nutrient factor, okay? And of course, they're going to have to, they always have to give the precautions for women. And so in this case, they give precautions for, depending on the age, and they also compare it to laboratory animal testing as well. So now, in organic chemistry, the inorganic chemistry of chromium picolinate also has a long history. So they describe it as a pinkish red crystalline compound. It is usually prepared by the reaction of simple salts, chromic nitrate, chromic perchlorate, chromic chloride, or chromic sulfate. And these are different types of chromium, that are not necessarily usable by the body. And again, they mentioned picolinic acid. So when you combine that chromium picolinate, chromium with picolinic acid, it forms the chromium picolinate. And that's the form that is found in whole foods, and that's the form that the body utilizes best. Okay, so we have to understand, again, a little bit of the chemistry and the types and forms of these different kinds of nutrients that will work the best, or just help you to understand that you don't want to waste your money on a supplement that's not absorbable. All right, so yeah, this is different types of chromium ingestion, toxicity, safety of chromium complexes in animal and human health. And again, they're highlighting chromium picolinate. And in some instances, in some animals, in some studies, again, individual studies can deviate from the responsibility of being very objective and to evaluate something at face value, given the factors that have contributed to something that might be toxic, mutagenic potential in animals. So you have to look at their scientific research and see why they arrived at that conclusion. So a lot of times studies are rejected from peer-reviewed studies. This is not a peer-reviewed study. This is a book. Someone has put together a book, and I'm sure that they're qualified. They may be a PhD. I don't know at this point. Here's some names here, and this is a reference from that they used. They exerted from this book here. But so yeah, I mean, you have to be very careful, and you have to do a lot of reading in order to determine why something is bad. I mean, if you were to find someone can just take this section here and write an article about it and not be educated as far as citing responsibly their scientific reference, if any scientific reference was used at all. So sometimes when someone takes an excerpt like this out of a book and writes an erroneous kind of article, and it gets it gets on the internet and people find it, and then they say, well, this research study said this and this expert said that. It's not as credible as a peer-reviewed study. You need a lot of studies over time in order to come to a much more accurate conclusion as to whether something is good for you or not. I do my best to try to point these things out, and it's not an easy task because of all the contradictions out there. So they're talking about different metals and renal toxicity. Okay. So chromium picolinate sold as a nutritional supplement to prevent or treat chromium deficiency has been reported to cause tubular necrosis and interstitial nephritis. In other words, inflammation in the kidneys. So that's why I do not advocate individual nutrients in nutritional supplements. So if we were to do a search on chromium picolinate supplements, let's see what we come up with. Let's see what's on the market. Okay, so here's a company, chromium picolinate capsules, isolated nutrients, huh? This is a powder. All right, it's a powder. Let's see what the ingredients are. All right, chromium as chromium picolinate. That's it. Other ingredients, none. All right, so it's pure chromium picolinate. How is that going to interact in the body? Well, according to this study here, and this is just one, where'd it go? It has shown to be, I mean, this person would have to take this particular nutrient over a long period of time. And like I said, other complex factors come into play. That's why a research study is not enough to determine what happened here, why this person wasn't able to utilize it correctly. First of all, it was an isolated nutrient, and taken over time, it can cause some imbalances. The body's always looking for nutrient complexes, mineral complexes from whole foods, so that it has all these counterbalancing factors in it to prevent problems like this. So, for a book to just state that this is what a research, probably they're talking about some kind of research. Yeah, you can tell. These are two groups of scientists, but anyway, this is a different paragraph, so it may not apply to what's set up here. But so you have to try to prevent taking isolated nutrients, pure and simple, to prevent problems like this, because you don't know what led to, the death of tissue in the kidneys and irritated them, kind of thing. So they're also mentioning creatine supplements. Those I know in the past from I've studied those in the bodybuilding world, and especially in the 80s when everyone suddenly started using creatine supplements. That isolated protein molecule cause a lot of problems in people's health. So again, whole food complexes are the safest. All of these different nutrients have to work together. All the phytonutrient compounds have to counteract any possible things that might go wrong with too much of one thing. There's such a thing as too much of a good thing kind of thing. All right, so that's another thing I wanted to point out to you. Where is it? All right, I lost my document. Oh, where'd the document go? I don't know where it is. Oh, I think I had more than one tab. This isn't the tab I'm looking for. Bear with me. All right, I must have closed it out. Maybe not. Nope, this is the Chromium Picolinate we looked at. This is the supplement. That's just one supplement. I'm not going to waste our time, but these are all probably very, very similar. Although Solgar is a pretty good company. They do their scientific homework, but let's see if there's any other, just out of curiosity, really quickly, what that says here. Nope, they're doing the same thing. It's not a good idea. They're not even using a whole food source. I'm surprised because they are very good at whole food supplements. So some of their lines, I suppose, some companies hold very, very excellent lines and in some of their supplements, and yet they carry something like this. That's potentially a problem. This is even more than the other one, 1,000 micrograms of chromium picolinate. So be careful, folks, when you take isolated supplements, just because you read that this is the health benefits of this particular mineral doesn't mean that taking it in isolated form is going to have the same effect. All right. My goodness, I don't know what happened to my document. I am going to pull it back up again. There it is. I must have exited out by mistake. All right, so there's chromium picolinate. Now there's other links here, and I know this is a very long video tonight, so I'm going to just go ahead and show you the title. Method of producing chromium picolinate complex. Okay, so if you're curious as to how is it isolated, how is it done? So here is a patent, a United States patent on what a company or a group of individuals have done to isolate, the processes they use to isolate this out of a whole food, or if they generate it synthetically. And so they're going to tell you a little bit about how they did this, but it is a patent. And so don't know when it expires. It might have already expired. There's a date here, 1996. I think it's a 30-year or 20-year amount of time until something expires, until a patent expires. Anyhow, so here's a method that they use for producing the chromium picolinate complex by a reaction of picolinic acid with chromium, we know that, wherein said method comprises reacting picolinic acid with a chromium +3 salt, so they've got a sodium molecule attached to it, under the conditions of a temperature from 70 to 90 degrees centigrade and a pH of 3.5 to 4.2. That's very acidic. Okay. So, and I like what they said over here. So let's see if I can remember where I saw that. So I wanted to point out that they refer to this procedure for extracting chromium picolinate. They call it a present invention. So anything that is not natural, that is considered synthetic or synthetically derived, like in this case, it's called an invention because it's a patented product or patented procedure, or process. So that's what I wanted to point out. So yeah, this is, I just have seen how isolated nutrients have affected people's health, and the fact that companies or scientists or organizations take it upon themselves to isolate nutrients and then market it based on some loose amount of information that they acquired from a not a non a non peer-reviewed study, you know. So yeah, I do have a problem with that. And I think I closed out my keep doing that, keep closing out this this document. Okay, so I wanted to show you that really quickly. And then there's another one. It's just a PDF document, I believe. That's what it was here. Oh no, this is the one that had the different sources of chromium. And this just says that it's present in many foods: meats, grain products, fruits, vegetables, nuts, spices, brewer's yeast, beer, and wine. And however, chromium amounts in these foods vary widely depending on local soil and water conditions, which is true for any level of nutrients in any food, as well as agricultural and manufacturing processes used to produce them. For example, the amount of chromium can vary 50-fold in samples of oatmeal because of growing and processing differences, and that's one example of a food containing chromium. Some chromium can also be transferred to foods from stainless steel equipment during food processing and from pots and pans during cooking. Okay, but is that an absorbable form of chromium picolinate or chromium? I don't think so. It's not chromium picolinate found in plants, right? Let's see. And they tell you that most dairy products and foods high in sugar, like sucrose and fructose, are low in chromium. A few scientific studies are listed there. Human milk contains, so much chromium also, depending on the mother's diet. Dietary chromium is low, ranging from 0.4 to 2.5, and that's because if it's in food, you don't need as much because it's that much more absorbable. Like I said earlier, too much of a synthetic version of a nutrient is not going to work as well as a small amount that is molecular, atomically, energetically balanced in a whole food. So they talk about ascorbic acid, and that's not the subject of at the moment. All right, so chromium content of selected foods, and here's all, just a handful of different types of foods that you can find. And I do have a nutrient database that you can look up to, and I keep it here on my homepage, where USDA database of all foods, mostly all foods. They haven't really done a good enough job in listing organic foods, but you can find just about any whole food there. I think you can find out foods that are high in certain vitamins and minerals. I'm not sure if this is the same database I'm thinking of. Probably not. So yeah, here's a search box. You can find out the nutrient content of, say, oatmeal. Let's say oatmeal, because that was just mentioned here. All right. Cookies, oatmeal. So let's see. Oatmeal, whole oatmeal. We better put more specific items here. Whole oatmeal. Let's see if it'll give us 0 results. Whole oatmeal cereal. Some databases don't have a very good search engine, as you can see. All right. Yeah, so I'm surprised that this does not show oatmeal. Okay, let's change it to oatmeal cereal. Yeah, so apparently this database doesn't. That's very strange, very strange. Okay, let's look up food database. Oatmeal, oatmeal nutrients. Let's see what it gives us. Well, it's taken from a database. The search engine has pulled out that it contains this many calories and this much fat, this much protein, carbohydrates. But there are databases on the internet that will tell you what the mineral content is. The database, let's see what the oatmeal mineral content is. Let's see if it'll give us something. So this is a US Food Data Central. Oats, raw, Food Data Central. Here we go. I should put that on my front page here. Okay, so I mean, you can find it, right? It's there. Here's all the breakdown of the minerals. Does it show chromium? Some studies on these databases, they don't list all the minerals. Chromium is missing here. So, but then they do show the milligrams. They show selenium as a microgram, and chromium is always listed as micrograms. But yeah, this is why I go to different sources to compile my own databases. And this is one example of having to really do your research, you know, to pull together a pretty good fundamental source for yourself of information. So compiling your own book, you know, even if you're not going to publish it just for your own use, is very important. So let's see, ingredient nutrient values. So yeah, you can just play around with this and find out. I think I'll leave this up so I can put that on my web Google site here. All right, so I just realized why I keep losing my documents, because it's a PDF document, and it keeps dropping me. Maybe I'll switch to my Word document so it doesn't keep dropping me. Okay, here's my Word document. All right, so same document, just Word instead of PDF form. All right, so we can go on and on, right, with chromium picolinate, and I had to pick out the ones that I felt were would provide you with the best information as to why pick out a synthetic or isolated nutrient form of chromium when you have chromium picolinate in so many great foods, you know. Molecular mechanisms of chromium in alleviating insulin resistance, and this will talk about how to maintain blood sugar with the right type of chromium and other balancing nutrients. And then here's another study from the National Research Council, implications for reducing chronic disease risk, and we'll be talking about the chromium as well. All right, so let's move on to calcium. Now, calcium, there's different kinds of calcium. So calcium carbonate contains 40% elemental calcium, and that means that it's only, you know, a small amount is absorbed through the cell membranes and utilized in the cells. So are you going to have good muscle contraction and muscle, including the heart muscle? Are you going to have good peristaltic action in the colon and also the esophagus, pushing food down, all that muscular action, and also in the blood vessels? They have tiny little muscles there that require a lot of the peristaltic push movement through, pushing it to the heart and back again all throughout the whole system. So calcium is very, very important for that. So why take in a calcium carbonate, which is crushed up lime, okay? It doesn't have the atomic electric components of a whole food. So plants are wonderful that way. They take up these elemental minerals out of the soil and they transform the atomic structures, and they have the light energy frequencies at work that allow our bodies to absorb and utilize these minerals in their ionic form or electrolyte form, you know, immediately in the body. So I never have advocated calcium carbonate. Besides, it neutralizes your stomach acids, which you need for digesting your food, especially the heavy molecules like fats and meats. Actually, not fats. Fats are digested through the gallbladder, but meats. So, you know, calcium carbonate is not a good source. All right, it's cheap, but it's not very absorbable. Okay, calcium lactate. It contains 13% elemental calcium. So depends, you know, calcium lactate, that's derived from dairy sources or milk, you know, from a mammal. So it depends on how it's utilized in the body. And I'm going to make sure I stick with the Google searches so I don't go into the chromium. For some reason, the chromium thing is knocking me down. Okay, so back to here. Yes, we're going to look up calcium lactate. Let's look it up. Calcium lactate. So what is calcium lactate? It's a white or cream, almost odorless food additive derived from lactic acid. What's lactic acid? It's an acid that's produced in the body when there's not enough oxygen being delivered to a cell, like your muscles. If you don't exercise regularly, your body cannot utilize all that oxygen very efficiently, so it forms lactic acid. And lactic acid is just it eventually goes away, the muscle soreness, right? The lactic acid buildup in the muscles, it goes away eventually. But it's a form of a carbohydrate, but it's derived from lactic acid. To me, that's not a food. Okay. And here you talk about the molecular configuration of what calcium lactate is. It's not a food, people. It's not. So you're better off in food sources of calcium. So calcium gluconate contains 9% elemental calcium. So let's look up calcium gluconate very quickly. This says it's a medication used to manage hypocalcemia, too much calcium in the blood, to manage cardiac arrest and cardiotoxicity due to hyperkalemia or hypermagnesemia. So too much potassium and too much magnesium, isolated nutrients will do that. It'll accumulate and circulate. If your body can't absorb it, it's just going to keep circulating until it's finally processed through the kidneys, causing problems in the kidneys, irritation there. So it's a calcium salt. Again, not a food-derived source. Okay. What's the risk of giving calcium gluconate? So again, all these allergic reactions, of course, these are extreme cases, but if you're not in great health, if your system is biochemically compromised, then you might experience a lot of these problems. If too much calcium that's not absorbable is circulating in the blood, you're going to have all these different health problems here. Yeah, I don't know why people keep buying these isolated nutrients. I guess because they don't know any better. And this is my job to try to clear all of this up for people, So calcium citrate is supposed to be the most absorbable form of non-plant-derived calcium. So if you buy something like coral calcium derived from living coral, then that is a whole entire organism that contains the whole range of living, working minerals in its system. So when you have a coral calcium supplement, and you're going to see a lot of different nutrients, not just the calcium in it. But in the meantime, let's look at calcium citrate, then I'll go to coral calcium. Okay, so again, depends on the company. There's a lot of calcium citrates in here. So calcium citrate increases calcium levels in the body. Calcium is a mineral that plays an important role in building strong bones and maintaining heart health if it's absorbable, if it's electronically, at the atomic level, in its correct electrical form. Okay. So, and they're calling it medicine by the Cleveland Clinic. Of course, the medical industry is going to call isolated nutrients medicine or drugs. And that's another reason why we have to separate the idea of taking a supplement in whole food form versus an isolated nutrient form. Let's look at calcium citrate ingredients here. All right, so calcium bonded with natural citric acid. That's all it is. Citric acid is something the body makes in every single cell in every moment it's part of the energy production cycle. Okay, so 1,000 milligrams is generally the average amount you'll find in a calcium citrate supplement. And it's nothing more than the elemental calcium that's bonded molecularly to citric acid. Citric acid is accepted readily into the cells, so that's going to help bring that calcium inside the cell to help the body utilize it. Again, it's not the most ideal form, but it's the second best to a whole food form of calcium. All right, let's go to coral calcium. All right, so I'm looking for a good source of coral calcium here. And I know after looking at coral calcium supplements, which ones are some of the best ones in the market. So I'm thinking Nature's Plus. They have a very good, so as you can see, all right, let's see what they say about this. They have a patented process, or not patented, but a specific system that they use to activate coral calcium, and of course that's their secret. It's not going to be revealed to the public, otherwise other companies would compete with this company. But they have pretty good processes in order to increase the nutrient bioavailability. They don't really have to. It's from a whole food derived plant in the ocean. All right. I was hoping they would tell us the source, but I know for a fact, of course, coral calcium is self-explanatory, right? Oh, here it is harvested in an ecologically sound manner from the deep water basins of the Okinawa Islands of Japan. Living coral beds are not harmed. Okay, so apparently the decomposition of the coral calcium plant that's still holding their electrical potential is harvested right there where the living corals are. So they're not harvesting the living coral, they're harvesting the surrounding freshly decomposed, coral material in the ocean floor. So we've got an abundance of different types of minerals as well. So this is what's in coral calcium naturally, okay? Beta carotene, the best form of vitamin A, ascorbic acid, a natural form of vitamin C in this case, because it's from the living, very close to the living coral. Vitamin D as ergocalciferol. This is a pretty good plant-derived form of vitamin D, although our bodies form cholecalciferol out in sunlight, and that's an even better form. But this is pretty good. Vitamin E, and so we've got calcium, okay, from coral calcium, Vitavail complex, that's their own formulation, proprietary blend of soluble plant-based minerals, plural, amino 8, aspartate, citrate, ascorbate, lysine, methionate, rare earth elements, and fructo-oligosaccharides from dahlia, inula, tuber, and chicory root. So they're throwing all kinds of plant-derived forms of calcium. 345 milligrams is much more absorbable than the 1,000 milligrams of calcium citrate. Okay, then you've got iodine from kelp. So they're throwing in all these different whole food factors in this coral calcium supplement to help absorb the calcium. Okay, so you see all these plant-derived, food-derived sources of minerals here. And here they have the coral calcium, which is the elemental calcium from those same beds, 1,000 milligrams. So not only do you have the 1,000 milligrams of augmenting nutrients to absorb that 1,000 milligrams, but also the 345 milligrams of more active calcium. So that will help the absorbability as well. So as you can see, they even have the chromium complex, okay? So proprietary blend of soluble plant-based minerals, amino 8, which is a protein. When you have a chelate like that, then it's more absorbable through the cell membrane. It helps pull it through and makes it much more utilizable. Again, it's all happening at the atomic electrical level. Rare earth elements and fructooligosaccharides. Apparently, this plant is rich in this phytonutrient complex. So anytime you have such complexes, then they have many, many health benefits. All right, so, and then they've got different types of seaweed in here. I mean, this is a superfood in itself, because it's quite complete, has all the minerals in it and some vitamins in it too. The only thing I see missing is a B complex, but it's bound to have B complex too, because all these whole food complexes derived from plants are also high in the B complex, okay? All right, so just wanted to point that out. So those are the different kinds of calciums that you want to look at. I would not take the first three. I would consider calcium citrate, which is, a lot more absorbable than the elemental calcium. or all these elemental calciums. All right, so we can go on and on about calcium, but and how it's used in the body and that kind of thing. You'll have to just buy my books. The Nutritional Synergy book is very, very good about explaining all the different vitamins and minerals and how they work in the body. The same thing with a couple of other books that I have out there. I'll show you in a moment. All right, so zinc. Zinc citrate is used in a lot of supplements. It's a natural form of zinc, and therefore it's very absorbable. All forms of zinc are bonded with digestible substances like zinc citrate, and these are natural and not synthetic. And here's the reference source I used to just obtain that little tidbit for us. And again, it's a great peer-reviewed study, you know, of how they compare that with zinc gluconate and zinc oxide. Never take a supplement that has only oxides in them. You might as well just use grind up rocks and put them in a tablet. You know, that's just not absorbable. Okay, the final thing I wanted to go over is the citric acid. Is citric acid in supplements derived from whole food sources? Yes and no. There's a industrial chemical process that's used to isolate. In this case, citric acid is a major industrial chemical produced at greater than 2 million tons per year worldwide. Its main source is not from fruit, but from the fermentation of crude sugars, like molasses and cornstarch, by the mold Aspergillus niger. Now, Aspergillus niger mold is a haploid filamentous fungus, which is used for waste management and biotransformations in addition to its industrial uses, such as production of citric acid and extracellular enzymes. However, this is a huge however, citric acid is an important natural compound that has been known since the late 18th century. The pioneering Swedish German chemist Carl Wilhelm Scheele, I don't know how to pronounce Scheele in German, isolated it from lemon juice in 1784. It has since been found in other citrus fruits, pineapples, and even animal tissues, meaning the animals have consumed, foods containing citric acid, which would indicate a lot of different grazing, right? A lot of plants that they graze on. Or some animals produce their own vitamin C, which is able to utilize citric acid in better ways too. So that's, again, biochemistry. It's very complex, but here we go. Looking at citric acid. So citric acid, as I said before, how is that used? How does the body use citric acid? Okay, citric acid, let's go here. Citric acid and energy production in cells. Citric acid cycle. So that means that is the energy production cycle of a cell. Okay, accounts for about 2/3 of the total oxidation of carbon compounds in most cells, and its major end products are carbon dioxide and high energy electrons in the form of NADH. NADH being part of the energy production cycle in the cell. So let's see if we can see a picture of this. We can just pick just any number of these different things here. So this is the cell energy cycle, also known as the citric acid cycle, and how our individual cells produce the energy they need to do their work, to keep us alive, to keep us going. In eukaryotes, which means cells in mammals or humans, animals, the citric acid cycle takes place in the matrix of the mitochondria. Mitochondria is where energy is produced inside of our cells, and these are little organs called organelles inside the cells, just like the conversion of pyruvate to acetyl coenzyme A. So our body's always converting nutrients and building molecules so that it can utilize it for different processes in the body. In this case, the citric acid is utilized or created. Our bodies actually build a citric acid natural molecule in the body in order to utilize and perpetuate the energy cycle that it used to produce the energy in our bodies. Okay, so this is a simple rendition of the 8 major steps on how the body produces energy. This is a nice, looks like some student drew their own. Looks like it might be a biology library, Google Classroom. It looks like it's a course in biology. Yeah, so it's either a student that drew it or the professor that drew it. But anyway, there's a lot of different pictures of the citric acid cycle. Here's a more complex one if you want to really get into it. But that's another Another video, okay. Citric acid cycle in the mitochondria. So it explains, what happens in this phosphorylation or electron transport chain, or, all these different processes the body uses to create what's called the ATP cycle or the Krebs cycle. And so here it is producing the ATP or unit of energy that the body uses for producing all these different types of work that the cells do. Electron transport chains that just transporting electrons from one form to another in the body, and all in all, it's just used for energy production, and we make it naturally in the body. So why isolate it from this chemical process, that was talked about? So there's no sense in that. The body will produce so many of these nutrients and isolated compounds, derived from other things like molasses or cornstarch, and who knows if they were genetically modified plants or not. Corn is highly genetically modified. Most corn in the USA is genetically modified with pesticides and altered, DNA from spliced into the poor corn. I mean, it's just crazy. Okay, you want to get away from all of that. Just organic whole foods, okay, grown in nutrient-rich soils and nutrient-rich, ecologically balanced environments. Okay, and here's just another method for extracting citric acid and or sodium citrate from fermentation liquor. And these are the extraction methods that they describe there. All right, so I would not take citric acid as an isolated supplement just because it's involved in the citric acid cycle, in the energy production cycle in our cells. It's not going to work the same. It has to be at the atomic, subatomic, subquantum energy level, electrically balanced, and the only way to do that is to eat botanicals in their raw, enzyme active, light energy frequency active forms, whole foods. Organic foods are highest in the vitamins and minerals and phytonutrient compounds that all act together in synergy in any plant that will provide your body with what it needs. All right, so I know this was a long one, and if you hung in there, you're heroic. Thank you for hanging on like that. So if you are a True Health Mastery member, a True Health Mastery Institute member, then it's documents like this that I include for people in the membership. That way they can really just become engrossed in their own research, because that's what I want to produce. My members will be learning to truly master their health, because they will understand their nutritional physiology and their nutritional biochemistry to a very strong fundamental extent. And once you've seen enough of these peer-reviewed studies and you see how the body works, and I'll be providing courses on how the human body works and how the body uses nutrients. So the books that I've written so far will be the basis for the courses that I'll be developing. I'm in the midst of developing a course right now, and I will be creating a second course and maybe a third course before I launch, but maybe I'll just go ahead and launch once these two courses are active and available for members. Okay, so these are the books that I have written, Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health. And if you click on this link here, or if you go to my website, holisticchoices.com, and then there's a link there that says books by Mary Esther Gilbert. Let me just take you there so you see what I mean. So that's this link here, and it lists all of my books. They come in softcover and in ebook form. And I even have a couple of videos describing in detail what some of my books are like, or what's entailed in the books, And if you go if you look at the rest of these videos on my channel, you'll see that I've discussed, all various botanicals taken out of this book in particular, Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health. And this is the softcover version, and this is the ebook version. All right, so I describe each one of my books so that you know what you're buying. The book covers look great, but you want to know what you're buying, right? And you want to know if you're selecting the right book. So again, this is all based on over 45 years of diligent, tenacious scientific research. And so, you'll see that in these books, they're quite comprehensive, and they'll give you a very strong fundamental education on how to protect your health, how to build optimal health vibrancy, how to restore your health, and how to just live a healthier lifestyle. And that begets happiness, a higher form of happiness. So it elevates people because they're vibrating at a higher frequency, the frequency of optimal health vibrancy and happier, perspectives kind of thing. So yeah, there's another tangent I'm not going to go off on because I've talked long enough here. But anyhow, thank you so much for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. I want to get this word out to as many people as possible. If you like a video, then it gets put in front of more people, or looking for something similar, or looking for this very thing, right? And then also, if you subscribe, then you'll get notified of all of the videos that I produce, and you'll be notified. I produce a variety of minerals, of videos. And so having to do with, of course, your nutritional health vibrancy, getting well and preventing the disease process, that kind of thing. So anyway, there it is. Thank you so much. I am going to just get out of all this stuff here. Yeah, I put up a lot of stuff, don't I? All right, there was one other thing that I was going to show you, but this is a PDF you can download for free. And I will put the links of everything, by the time you see this video, it'll be in the description box below, kind of thing. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, and utilize this information, and you will be a lot healthier and a lot happier. And even though sometimes supplements might cost a little more, you'll actually be saving money in the long run, because you won't have to go out and buy isolated individual nutrients and waste your money and possibly irritate your body, and you will be more biochemically balanced and more nourished. So it'll be definitely worth it. You do save money in the long term and save time, and save yourself a lot of stress, disappointments in not getting the results you want, kind of thing. So yeah, that's what it's all about. All right, so I'm going to stop the share here. So again, thanks for joining me, and I will see you soon. Have a great life, and please come back. Talk to you later. Bye.